Hi, everyone, and welcome to the book launch for Gregory Wolos. And this is his new book, The Thing About Men Stories. And in the chat, you will see a couple links for ordering his book, one from Amazon, one from thelostbookshelf.com. And there are other bookstores too, also carrying his book. So I hope you will support him and buy his book if you don't already have it. And a little bit about Gregory. He is the author of Women of Consequence, Regal House, and Dear Everyone, Duck Lake Books. His work won awards sponsored by Solstice, Descant, Gulfstream, New South, the Rubbery Book Awards, and many, many more. Over 100 short stories have been published in numerous magazines, including Glimmer Train, Georgia Review, Michigan Quarterly Review, Baltimore Review, Pank, Southern Humanities Review, and others. And so now I'll turn you over to Gregory.
Thank you, Gloria, and thanks for Cervena Barva for publishing this book, and thanks to the staff of Cervena Barva. I appreciate all the work that's gone into that Gloria and staff has done to complete this book and get it out. And thank you all you folks who've showed up. I appreciate it that you would give a small portion of your time to hear me read from my latest collection. It's actually my fourth collection. There's one that came out just before this one, somewhere around here, but I'll be selling that one at the Open Door in Schenectady next week. I'll be where I'll be doing some signings. So if you're in Schenectady, passing through, drop in and get a signature. The collection is The Thing About Men, and I'll read you from the back of the book that gives an idea of the nice summary of what the book is about. Because what is the thing about men? The thing about men is that there is no single thing. The men featured in this story collection are fathers, sons, grandfathers, husbands, lovers, and loners. They are, or have been, teachers, models, gigolos, hypnotherapists, school superintendents, tattoo artists, lawyers, crematory workers, and casino employees. Some are victims, others are victimizers. All struggle to find stability or at the very least comfort in a world that challenges their assumptions about manhood as they search for a footing in the rubble of a crumbling patriarchy. There are kindnesses and cruelties in these stories. There are successes and failures. But pull back the curtain on the central characters in The Thing About Men, and you will find that they are all men you know. This is actually a sequel, The Thing About Men, to my first collection, Women of Consequence. Several of the stories actually are continuations of the earlier stories. Some are complementary in other ways. They're closely related, but I think you'll find that if you read both collections, the women, the characters in the women of consequence, the central characters are more characterized by excess, whereas the men in the stories in this collection are maybe they're characterized more by retreat. We'll see what you think when I read the first story, which I'm going to read. I picked a story where I could read the whole story in a comfortable time. The first story I'm going to read is called Still Life, or the only story I'm going to read is called Still Life. It matters how you pronounce it, but you can pronounce it various ways that would apply to the story. It is a story about art, and one of the interesting things that I tried to do in the structure of the story, which you can't see because you're not reading it here. If you have your own book, you can, but the structure of the story is set in blocked paragraphs that would remind one perhaps of portraits or pictures in a museum. Think Mussorgsky's pictures at an exhibition, or Emerson, Lake and Palmer pictures at an exhibition that you're walking through, and each paragraph is a kind of picture in itself. So that was something I wanted to tell you about. If I pause, it's perhaps a way to think of you passing from one picture to another as you move through the story. And it's also sort of a dog story. So I want to dedicate this reading to Macy Cossin Gordon, a dog that's been dear to our family. All right. I'm going to read you the story, folks. That one's not about dogs. That one's about cats. That one's about a goose. Where is it? There it is. Still life. I'm late, and I'll be much later. The dead dog I see through the slats of the louvered door is to blame. I haven't the art class instructor's telephone number. What will her students use for a model when I don't show? Who or what will occupy my stool? I will be replaced by an object. Still life. A piece of fruit. Perhaps a ripe tomato. A coffee mug. An interesting piece of found trash. All my folds and wrinkles, my hairy and hairless patches would have been on display. My retired penis would have awaited the skill of the boldest among them. But on the other side of this door, Sir Arthur is dead. His name was a compromise. Susan wanted something spiritual. I favored Sherlock Holmes. If she hadn't predeceased him by a year, our dog's stiff bulk would have brought my wife to tears. When Susan passed, I was posing. My cell phone, set on vibrate, was in my pants pocket, left with my shirt, socks, and underwear behind a screen erected for my convenience. I had emerged, as for every class, in my yellow terry cloth robe, which pooled on the floor as I assumed the session's position. We thought Susan had months, even years, that this hospitalization was just one more in a cycle of treatments and homecomings that would last into a hazy future neither of us acknowledged. The voice message. Please hurry. Ms. Weber is failing. Because of his incontinence, Sir Arthur spent his night in a basement room with a tiled floor. This morning, clapping and shouting, "Sir Arthur, hey!" didn't rouse him. The hairs on the back of my neck lifted. I pushed, but the door didn't yield. Heart failure, they said at the hospital. Susan had fought hard, but the strain of her treatments had taken its toll. Sheeted to the chin, she lay alone when I arrived, breathless. Her wig was backwards, and I shifted it into place above her smooth brow. Her parted lips seemed to chide. The wig? My lateness? Eyeglasses and dentures in a cup waited on the nightstand. She would never again see me or say my name. Because the husky's body blocks the louvered inner door, I enter Sir Arthur's room from outside. His open eyes, mismatched blue and brown, never intelligent, are empty. There's a great distance between simple-mindedness and death. His tongue lolls through his open jaws as if he's tasting the floor. But his mass is ambiguous. He is neither furniture nor art, but he's definitely here. Susan suggested modeling. She saw an ad. No experience necessary, she read. It's at the college. You're great at sitting and doing nothing. I like watching old movies. Sometimes I read. You need to get out, she said. I walk Sir Arthur, I said. That doesn't count, she said. You need to see people. I walk him twice a day. The neighbors stay away from the two of you. He growls. You never trained him. He doesn't like people. See about modeling. Would you mind taking off your shirt? The instructor asked. I offered the rest of my body. I'm at the mercy of time and gravity, I warned. At the end of the session, the instructor praised my gift for stillness. She passed my name on to the other art teachers. Sir Arthur must be removed, but there are problems. First, I have not yet achieved sufficient objectivity to touch him. Second, his weight will make transporting him a challenge. The flesh should disappear with the life. Leaving it behind is like littering, the dead's irresponsible final gesture. Half an hour. At Susan's bedside, that's how long it took to divide the life from the body, to transform the first into a memory and the second into an object. A nurse entered and touched my elbow. I rose, and a dull fluorescence followed me like a cloud down the hall to a desk where arrangements were discussed. I needed to get home to walk Sir Arthur. We'd owned two other dogs, Krishna and Watson, adopted after children proved impossible. Little dogs coddled through long lives, ending with somber, responsible trips to the veterinarians. Then we saw a movie featuring huskies, and their beauty and vigor touched us. They can be willful, the breeder said. Walk them for an hour a day, two if possible. Sir Arthur was handsome, powerful, and untrainable. Having a name seemed irrelevant to him. He was impossible to allow off-leash and only intermittently housebroken. During his first epileptic seizure, I tried to comfort him. Temporarily blind, he bit through my thumb. Medication reduced the seizures, but left him perpetually ravenous. He spent more and more time in his basement room, where I tuned the TV to the classic movie channel. And so passed the duration of his hard-to-love 14 years. Susan was diagnosed the week of our 38th wedding anniversary. She died a month before what would have been our 40th. We had hoped to travel more than we did after our retirements, but kenneling Sir Arthur became an impediment. He howled all night, said one proprietor. I can't take him again. Another he bit. One ran a kennel on her farm, and we managed 2 week-long vacations, one to Key West, where it rained almost every day, and another to London, where it rained. Our vacation pictures cataloged humid deluges and chill drizzles. The kennel woman told us after our second trip that on his walk, Sir Arthur had grabbed her rooster by the throat and shaken him dead. Then he wouldn't let go. She'd paraded him around the yard, screaming at him while the bird hung from his jaws. Only when more chickens crossed their path did he drop his kill for a lunge. London was our last vacation. Legions of former colleagues and students attended Susan's memorial service. A young man to whom she taught geometry and who became a state senator spoke. The afternoon following the service, Sir Arthur followed his usual routine when brought upstairs. He barged through the door, checked for food on the dining room table, checked for food on the kitchen counters, checked to see if the garbage can was locked, checked for food in the den, drank from the toilet. Then he lumbered to my seat, dropped his heavy paw on my thigh, dripped toilet water on my lap from his open jaws, and demanded petting. He did not look for his mistress. If he had, he would have found her silver urn on the mantel, where it still sits like a trophy. I am bleached to vanity. What, I wonder, do the art students see in my sagging flesh? Do their brushes and pencils and charcoals reanimate the surfaces youth has deserted? Tufts of colorless hair gather on my shoulders, above my nipples, in my ears, over my penis, and upon my scrotum. The students' eyes crawl over my membranous skin, collecting data, transferring their interest not in me, but of me. They translate me into their own languages on paper and canvas, mingle me with themselves. 30 minutes to objectify the body before I attempt to remove it. The veterinary hospital does not provide this service. But we're so sorry, a young woman says. Bring poor Sir Arthur here and we'll take care of everything. We're so sorry for your loss. I wait and watch a movie on Sir Arthur's TV, peeking at the carcass now and then to see what's changed. It's a musical. Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers dance in each other's arms. Sir Arthur's tongue is frozen to the floor. Finally, I expect nothing from his vacant eyes. The movie is Top Hat. Astaire wears one. I maneuver the body with a shovel. The carcass moves as a piece, hindquarters to head. I pry Sir Arthur's rear quarters from the floor and slide the open end of a 40-gallon heavy-duty black plastic contractor's bag beneath his stiff legs and tail. It slips frictionlessly over and under the black and white fur I brushed yesterday. I try to hurry. The animal hospital waits, and at the art class, there is no accounting for my absence. The bag accommodates Sir Arthur's forelegs, but 40 gallons are not enough. His head protrudes from the bag like a wall mounting. I keep the box of contractor bags in our bedroom. I have filled several with Susan's clothes, Dresses, blouses, robes, skirts, stockings, outfits that she wore to synagogue, to parties, to dinner, to bed. I don't really fill them. I keep her closet closed. But I imagine the sleeve of her red sweaters reaching from a black bag, and I remember Sir Arthur shedding on it as Susan petted him. Straddling his carcass, I tug a second bag over Sir Arthur's head, and it shimmies like a gown to his hip. When I model, I decline breaks, though they're offered at regular intervals. I meditate, I tell instructors, and they allow their students to continue capturing my essence. But I don't meditate. I replay movies in my head, entire scripts. I see the action. I hear every line of dialogue and the music. I keep still. The movies play in a private corner deep within my brain. I don't allow the tragic or comic to excite my heart. I breathe serenely. Moving the carcass. Where do I grip? Can I wrap my arms around it like Fred held Ginger? I spread a canvas tarp, push and tug with the shovel, and coax the carcass into its center. I'm just putting on my top hat, tying on my white tie, dusting off my tails. I turn off the television. I'll envision a different movie while I drag the loaded tarp out the door and uphill along the side of the house to the driveway, where I'll somehow hoist it into the trunk of my Taurus. Halfway up the hill, and Of Mice and Men absorbs me, the oldest version with Burgess Meredith and Lon Chaney, Jr. My back aches, and every 2 steps I adjust my grip on the corners of the tarp bunched into my fists. 1, 2, pause. 1, 2, pause. Tell me about the rabbits, George. It's a black and white movie, but I see it with a sepia tint. When I drop the tarp and straighten, my back crunches. My neighbors have pulled their pickups side by side in the road at the end of my driveway and chat through open windows. Their engines run. I'm in too much of a hurry for explanations and stoop back to my task, grasp the corners of the tarp, and leaning back, straining hamstrings, quads, and glutes, drag the bundle to the blacktop driveway, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, all the way to the rear of my car. The fat of the land. I leave it there on the pavement, ignoring my neighbors, cross my lawn, ascend my porch steps, and pass through the front door into my living room. I sit on the radiator cover at my front window, peering from behind the curtain. I wait for the men in the street to drive off so I can gather my pet one last time in my arms and dump him in the Taurus's trunk. At the veterinary hospital, the staff will take over. They will have a gurney. While it's rolled away, someone will attempt to distract me by patting my arm and offering a tissue. There'll be a question about ashes, and I'll choose the cheapest option. When they're ready, I'll keep the box on the mantle next to Susan's urn. But if my neighbors leave soon, I might make it to the art class after the vets, and the students will be happy to have me to copy, unless they've already devoted themselves to the still life I fear has taken my place.